Leafs Nation, what's going on? It's your guy James from Offside, and here we go. It's the Leafs Weekender. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, so bear with me as we get started and get rolling along here, but it's going to be a good one tonight. We'll jump right into this. I want to talk about the PWHL. They were in our city for 2 games, and it was absolutely awesome here. Sold out both times, but today got to experience it firsthand because my daughter was a part of the intermission game that was played during the first intermission. Absolutely awesome. But I want to take time out to stick a big shout out to the Ottawa Charge and the Boston Fleet. Both teams put on a spectacular show today, but the PWHL as a whole really took in the city, really took in everyone, and made this event huge for everyone that was involved. And it's absolutely awesome for the little ones, older ones. It doesn't matter. Everyone was there and the place was rocking. And they've got a forever fan in me, and I'm sure my family, but most of all, my 8-year-old got to light it up a little bit during the intermission, have some fun, and watch everyone around her looking at her, and she can just, the big wide eyes and talking to her about it. It was a huge experience, and one that I think will really lock her into the game for a long period of time. But it was absolutely awesome, and I do think the city of Halifax deserves to have themselves a PWHL team here. So big kudos again. Both games sold out. These games mean something to the league, obviously. They see the sellout. They see the fan base. They see the want for people to come see these games, and I think for many, this will be something that was a litmus test for Halifax, and we passed with flying colors, as I do think the PWHL will be a part of Halifax, and Halifax will be a part of the league. So I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing that expansion news in a year's time. But again, tip of the cap to the PWHL for coming to Halifax and putting on one hell of an event, and very excited my daughter got to take part again in the first intermission. Something that has been going crazy too is the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know it's the team we talk about on this podcast, but they have been on absolute fire 9 games in a row, coinciding with the firing of Mark Savard. They've gone and got points in 9 games, and they're absolutely rolling. And hey, healthy Matthews, he's heating up. The Olympics on the way. We always used to make the Sundin jokes, about how Sundin would rip off the Leaf jersey and become a beast for Team Sweden. Well, we're starting to see that a little bit here from Austin Matthews. Absolutely a rolling. And of course, we get into this one here and we say the boys are heating up and guys are getting healthy. And the best part about that is when guys start getting healthy, we do have the Olympic break coming up. So guys will have even more time to heal. The McCabe's, the Stolars, hopefully the Tanums, and we'll get to him during this show. But again, everyone, thank you very much for jumping on and checking the show out. Be sure to check out our friends, the Hockey Hot Stove. I'll make sure to tag them in this video. I did in the post already, but you got to go check it out. It's the one place you want to go, your one-stop shop for all your hockey needs. But let's get into the Leafs Weekender. If you've been here before, you know how this show goes. You know the flow. We go into the intro, the week that was, the week that will be, the good, the bad, the ugly. We've added a little segment here called 3 Up, 3 Down. 3 players on the rise, 3 players on the fall. And then, of course, our Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior, the injury report, and, of course, the ending shout-out. So let's get right into it. The week that was for the Toronto Maple Leafs, well, a 4-1 victory over the Florida Panthers. Not something I think anyone really predicted. We all knew there was going to be a little burr in the saddle of the Maple Leafs with the way the playoffs ended. And anytime they faced the Florida Panthers, they want to put their best foot forward, and they did against a team they needed to chase in the standings. And they wanted to make sure that they passed as well. And the Maple Leafs did that, obviously. The physicality, the grinding kind of play, it was huge. This one was big because the Maple Leafs needed to show that they could pick up key points against Atlantic Division foes, because not too long ago, we were like the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic, and it was not fun. The jokes were a-flying, but now we're a-climbing. After beating the Florida Panthers, the Leafs go into Philly. And this was a game to me that I was like, okay, this is one that could get away. It's one of those games where you look at it and you say, you're watching and you're waiting, and then all of a sudden Philly scores. Now, earlier in the season, that 1-goal lead, it would have been the straw that broke the camel's back. This team wouldn't have got it done, and they would have been up against the ropes, and they may have tried to battle, make a game of it, but it wouldn't have came to be a victory. But not only on this one did the Leafs get the victory, but it was Scott Laughton, big Philly guy. It took him a long time to acclimate to be a Toronto Maple Leaf, but boy, oh boy, we're going to talk about him a lot on this episode. He turned it up for the Toronto Maple Leafs, got the goal, got it tied, celebration, the way that he goes about his game lately. He's really taking on a leadership role, a mentorship role for some of the younger guys as well. But this guy right here is the passion you want for the Maple Leafs. They tie it up. And of course, Mr. TikTok star himself, Easton Cowan, scores the goal. And what I liked about this game was the team stayed as a team. Something happened in front of the net. They got after it. All those different little things. But after the game, when Cowan's giving his interview, they're playing that song that he did TikTok video to, and they're all peeking their head out. Matthew Nye, Scott Laughton, Morgan Riley, you name it, all wanting him to get in the room so he can bust down his dance moves. And hey, this is a sign of a team that's starting to come together and have some cohesiveness, which is absolutely what you need to see. Even Craig Berube starting to talk about this squad, getting together for each other and making sure they're sticking up for one another. And then we flip the script. We go on over to Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Vancouver, a wounded team, which the Maple Leafs usually play down to those wounded teams and end up losing the game. Well, not tonight. No. The Maple Leafs come out and they put up 3 in the first period, and they look like a team that is ready to face whatever is going to come at them for the longevity of this game. And I'm loving it. The scrums in front of the net. They're clearing guys out. You got Easton Cowan dragging a guy out. You got Domi fighting a 6'5 monster and then being called a heavyweight champ to the point where Berube is tapping him on the back on the bench and bigging him up, getting him excited. But this team is starting really, you look at that Vancouver game, they didn't take their foot off the gas. They kept on going. Even Robo's power play goal towards the end of the game, they did not let this team up off the mat, and that is something they've been guilty of this season. They've lost points because of it, but they did not allow the Vancouver Canucks to get up off the mat. No, they kept them down there. They got the 5-0 win. Wooler gets another shutout, his second of the season, and he's really starting to round into a form himself and find his game back. Not that he's been off kilter too much, but, you have a bad game here or there. And just to touch back on the Philly game, the Hildebeest looking like a beast again in net, only allowing 1 goal. So the Toronto Maple Leafs are coming with 3 different goaltenders when Stolarz is back. Maybe you dangle something for a trade chip, or maybe you keep yourself locked in knowing you have 3 goaltenders, knowing you can have that stability if things go wrong in your crease with Wool, who's been known to get injured, with our guy Stolarz, who's currently injured, and then you get the Hildebeest there who can really pick up the slack. And who knows, maybe King Arthur comes up if you need a 4th, but they really do seem to have that solidified. But this team is coming together. So the week that was, Leafs picking up points, getting themselves within one of a playoff spot, which is what we are chasing, and no longer at the bottom of the Atlantic like the Titanic. All right, that's the week that was for the Maple Leafs, the week that will be. This week, to me, kind of has the new kind of Death Valley, like when you used to go through Anaheim, LA, etc. This one seems a bit more stiff. The Jets maybe at the end, maybe not. But again, I talk about wounded ducks like Philly. This is where it is. This is a litmus test week for the Maple Leafs. This is a measuring stick. This will tell us what it is for the Toronto Maple Leafs going into this week. For me, you have the Colorado Avalanche, you have the Utah Mammoth, the Golden Knights with Mitch Marner, and then you have the Winnipeg Jets. Can't speak. Come on. It's been a little while since I've done this. But for me, I'm looking for a 2-1 in 1 week. I think you get the win over the Avs. I think the loss comes to the Mammoth, and the OT loss, it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights with all the emotion and hoopla of Mitch Marner. I do think there will be a little bit of a side quest issue on that game. I just do. I do think the Leafs play up to the Colorado Avalanche and get themselves a victory there. I do see the Utah Mammoth just being a tougher game for some reason and them not picking up the victory. It kind of coincides with them being the Arizona Coyotes. They always had trouble with the Coyotes, so The Utah Mammoth, I think, is kind of the same thing, and I think that feeling just won't go away from me. So I think that is where the loss is going to be. Like I said, the Knights with Mitch Marner, that game just has trouble written all over it. I think they'll find a way to keep it tight, get to OT, but end up losing. And then on Saturday night against the Vancouver Canucks, not the Vancouver, I keep saying Vancouver, the Winnipeg Jets, I do see the Maple Leafs picking up the victory there. But again, you cannot play down to a wounded opponent. You have to play up to them like you did to Vancouver and get that victory and take it seriously. The Jets are reeling. Who knows how their week goes this week, but you want to make sure you keep them down and keep that going. So again, the week that will be for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I am calling a 2-1-1 week. I'm calling them to beat the Colorado Avalanche, to lose to the Utah Mammoth, OTL loss to the Vegas Golden Knights, and then pick up a win against the Winnipeg Jets. You tell me what you think, but for me, that's what the week will be for the Maple Leafs. Now we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, the GBU, if you will, brought to you by our friends over at Fresh Prince. Make sure you check them out. And also, this show is brought to you by our friends at Boxing Rock Brewing Co., the big beer for the big game right here. Grab yourself some Puck Off Lagered Ale. It's absolutely delicious. Goes with any of your favorite sports. But why not sit down and watch the Maple Leafs with a good old Puck Off Lagered Ale from Boxing Rock Brewing Co. All right, so the GBU. The good. The good for me is this team. This team seems to be gelling. They seem to be figuring it out. They seem to be coming together not only on the ice, but off the ice. It seems like this team is understanding what they need to do, where in years past, when things got tough, it wasn't they figured it out. They just score themselves out of problems. Well, they're scoring, yes, but it seems like this team is doing it in a different way right now. They're also picking each other up. You look at the Scott Laughtons. You look at the Max Domies. Hey, Peter, I told you second half Domi was coming. But they throw the knuckles. They get into things. They drag people out of the scrums. They're clearing the front of the net. They're not letting any of that stuff linger anymore. And the physicality from Brandon Carlo, now that he's healthy, this is the defenseman we traded for. Maybe that was just a serious thing with that plate in his leg that was causing an infection, making him not be able to play the way that he can play. And now that he's all cleaned up and ready to go, I'm telling you, man, he looks like a difference maker, and maybe he can make and stabilize Morgan Riley. We'll see. We'll talk more about him in a little bit. But they're doing all of the little things. They're cleaned up a lot of this stuff. The power play is starting to click. The penalty kill is doing wicked. Absolutely awesome. I said to fire Lalonde earlier in the season. I look like a dummy for it now. But this team is coming together in all avenues. And the big players, William Nylander steps back in the lineup, gets a goal. Austin Matthews absolutely rolling. Matthew Nye starting to heat up. But it's also the depth players starting to put the puck in the net as well and doing all the little things like I keep mentioning to keep this team going. But I love the heart of a guy like Scott Laughton. This is a guy I wish the Leafs would extend, bring back, really make a part of this team for a very, very long time. The reason I say that, this guy just has the passion. He has the care. He has the give a shit. The meter is so freaking high that everybody loves this guy. So I want Scott Laughton to stay. I want Scott Laughton to be a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs for a long, long time. And I really think he's finally comfortable in his skin with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you can tell me I'm wrong, but I really think Scott Laughton has come into his own. And then Brendan Carlo coming back from the injury. Like I said, they cleaned up the infection. They redid the plate or whatever they had to do. And this guy, Saturday night, man, throwing big hits, blocking shots, doing what he needs to do. Again, if he can stabilize it, I'm fired up for it. So that's the good. The bad, well, the bad is Chris Tanev. We talk about a guy coming back from injury. Well, we'll talk about a guy that's on the injured reserve right now. And this is a guy who blocks all your shots, a guy that we were counting on to have maybe 3 good seasons with the Leaf out of the 6 that he signed for. But for me, he's injured. But the problem is he had an injury that he came back from that everybody was like, oh, it's going to end his season, or he may not play again, or it's serious, he may need surgery, this, that, and the other stuff. But then he gets hurt again, but it's not the same injury they're saying. But surgery may still be an option. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, this guy here really needs to prioritize, like Jake Muzzin did, his health. We don't know if it's as serious as Jake Muzzin's stuff was, but it seems like the number 8 and good big, physical, shot-blocking defenseman. Muzzin, now Tanev, seems to be a little cursed right now. I'm hoping that Tanev either opts for surgery and is back for the playoffs or can deal with whatever he's dealing with and come back healthy. The Olympic break will be huge to knowing if this guy will be a part of this team this season. But for me, a guy that is his age, you want to make sure you have some sort of quality of life after hockey. It's just a thing that you want to make sure you have. And if these injuries are that big, that huge, and that problematic that he can't play, then you have to obviously reevaluate what's going on, get yourself fixed up, and see if it's an option to come back and play, or if it's better to unfortunately skate away and have some sort of quality of life after the game. We all love Chris Tanev. I want him back. I want him on the ice and blocking shots and being the guy that we need, obviously, to be that heart and soul of the defense like Jake McCabe is right now. Brendan Carlos starting to be, Troy Stetcher. But add a Chris Tanev in there, and it's just the chef's kiss. But right now, I'd rather see him get healthy and be healthy for the rest of his life. And if that means, again, like Jake Muzzin had to do, walk away, then he has to walk away. But it makes it the bad for me because we don't know. And obviously the Leafs are, they don't have to tell us anything. They don't have to divulge if he's going to be back or not, or if he's going for surgery or not. They are giving us tidbits here and there, but it just kind of sucks. He's a defenseman that we all like, and obviously you want the best for the guy. So hopefully we hear something, but that's the bad. And the ugly is Morgan Riley. I've been a steadfast Morgan Riley supporter, defender. I've said, this guy's gone through the laundry list of partners. Always. Seems like he's played with every single guy you can think of that has ever joined the Maple Leafs organization. And, he's tried to hold it together, had some great seasons, good seasons. It did seem like when he had a healthy Brendan Carlo on his side, his game elevated a bit. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get prime Morgan Riley here and he's going to bust out for 70 points this season, but I do think having Brendan Carlo back on Morgan Riley's side will give him that opportunity. But lately, it has been rough. It has been hard, and we heard the exit interview that happened. They asked Morgan Riley to kind of go find himself this offseason before the season started. He came in motivated. Unfortunately, it's hard when, again, you're playing with different defense partners a lot of the times, and guys like Philip Myers are not really going to boost your game. So I'm hoping that Brendan Carlo can stay healthy and really resurrect this season for Morgan Riley. But he's the ugly for me. Tell me I'm wrong, but here we go. We got the team coming together and gelling and playing for one another and firing it up and getting the points to climb up the Eastern Conference. The bad Chris Tanev with the injury. We don't know if he's coming back. We don't know if it needs surgery. We don't know what quality of player we'll have or what quality of life he might have if he comes back. And then the ugly is Morgan Riley and his game. We hope that with Carlo back, it stabilizes and he becomes the defenseman we want. If not, we might have to look for something else. But that's the GBU, brought to you by Fresh Prince and Boxing Rock Brewing Co. All right, let's swing it down. This is a new one here that I'm going to try every week. It's 3 up, 3 down. So 3 players that have gone up and 3 players that have gone down. I'm going to try to do this quick. So 3 up, 3 down for the Maple Leafs. 3 up for me. I'm talking about Scott Laughton. This guy, the leadership, the grit, the determination, gets hit from behind, bloody nose, still out there grinding, doing what he needs to do, talking to the ref. But this guy's scoring big goals in big moments, but also bringing the team together when he needs to. A little bit of physical play, shot blocking, doesn't matter. He's trying to do it all. PK, you name it. I love Scott Laughton. He's on the up for me. Another player for me is Brendan Carlo. Last 3 games, looks healthy, throwing big body hits, blocking shots, doing what he needs to do to elevate his game. So to me, he's on the up. And then third is Michelli. We all wrote him off. We all wanted him out of town. He was in the press box. This guy has come back. He has motivation to play really well, but he's playing good. He's dishing the puck. The confidence is there. He's tipping in goals. He's getting points. And he's chipping in and doing what he needs to do while moving his feet and passing. The hockey IQ, yes, Peters said it the best. It's off the charts, but he just needs that confidence and belief. And it seems like that is there, not only from himself, but from the team. And he's looking good in the lineup. That's the 3 up. Now the 3 down for the Toronto Maple Leafs for me. It's kind of hard when you have a team right now that's rolling to pick 3 things that are on the downslide. But I said Myers. Do I need to see much more right there? Like, brother, this guy is not what you want in your lineup and does not look like he should be a player once the D-core is fully healthy. Hopefully, maybe they add a couple guys. I'm not saying Dougie Hamilton, but we'll see. And then for me, I look at it and say, the Ottawa Senators, I know they're not part of the Maple Leafs organization, but so many Ottawa fans were dunking on the Maple Leafs. And now they got these rumors flying around. They're dropping down the standings. The game isn't good. Everybody's lashing out. To me, it's kind of you reap what you sow. I don't bash other teams or fan bases. I'm not doing that right now. But for me, the Ottawa Senators are definitely on the down. But other than that, I'm going to leave it there because there's not really much to talk about on the bad side right now. This week coming up, we'll see what happens. But that is your 3 up for the Maple Leafs and 3 down for the Maple Leafs. Now, the injury report. Well, the injury report. Not telling you what I know, just telling you what I heard. For me, Joshua is a while away. He's got that kidney injury he suffered in Detroit. Obviously, he needs to heal up, be good, get a good baseline, and they'll figure it out. He's been around the rink. He hasn't been on the ice from what I can tell. This player obviously could play a good role. He looked like he was finally rounding into form as he is coming back, and I do think he will take Calle Jarnkrok's place in the lineup when he does come back, but we'll see. Another one, Chris Tanev, obviously. There's no real new news on this guy. He's injured. They don't know if he's going to need surgery or not. The question is asked every day at practice. Obviously, he's around the team as well. You see him in the videos and everything for the Maple Leafs. So we're wishing him well, and we do hope that Chris Tanev comes back from whatever the injury may be. But again, we've talked about him ad nauseum on the show. We just wish him the best and can't wait to see him back. And now Stolarz, this is a positive update to me. He's been on the ice before practice. He may join the team this week, but from what the rumor is and what I heard, again, not telling you what I know, but what I've heard is that he will be on the road trip this week with the Toronto Maple Leafs as they go through the new Death Valley. So I'm wondering if maybe he gets in later in the week for a game, maybe against the Golden Knights, maybe against the Winnipeg Jets. Again, that's a long road trip, a Western road trip. Different time zone. So maybe having him on the trip and getting him into nets might be a good thing. But it's a good injury update here for Anthony Stolarz. We all want to see him back on the ice, healthy and ready to help the Maple Leafs because last year he was lights out for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm looking forward to seeing him back. Now, something we do here, we are sponsored by Boxing Rock Brewing Co. Again, get yourself some Puck Off Lagered Ale. It's the big beer for the big game, guys. But we got the Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior. I don't have my blue beard to put on for this, but it's Bobby McMahon. I know everybody by now has probably heard the story, but if you haven't, well, Bobby McMahon came to the game last night in a Loblaws kind of work vest. And the reason why, he shops at a certain Loblaws. He ran into this guy. He's a huge Leaf fan. He showed up because, unfortunately, Super Leaf fan Kevin passed away. It was his way of showing respect. He's taking pictures, talk with him. He really kind of got close with him, so it's sad he passed away. And Bobby McMahon, the way that he showed his respect is showing up to the Leaf game in the vest, all done up, paying his respects to a super fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is huge. This is the way you should do things. And, if it's a small gesture by Bobby, but it probably meant huge to his family and friends and everyone who knew him and knew him as a big Leaf fan. So shout out to Bobby McMahon for being the Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior this week. Just doing a little gesture to show, a little compassion to a family that's going through a rough time, losing a loved one in Kevin. Bobby McMahon, chef's kiss for doing that, buddy. It's an absolute beauty thing to do. We love seeing it, and we love Bobby. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Leafs Weekender. We're at about 25 minutes. I'm going to keep them to about 30, but this is the way the show goes. We drop the intro. We do the week that was, week that will be, the GBU, 3 up, 3 down, injury report, the Boxing Rock Bearded Blue Warrior, and then, of course, we get the heck out of here. Before I get the heck out of here, though, I want to do a huge shout-out again to the PWHL for coming to Halifax for 2 huge games. I want to give a huge shout-out to the Metro Inferno East U9 development team. So one of my daughters on. Absolutely awesome to see them on the ice tonight at center ice, playing a little game in the first intermission. Huge for them. Absolutely cool. Shout out to the Ottawa Charge and the Boston Fleet. The Boston Fleet actually tweeting my daughter wearing their jersey. Totally cool. Absolutely love it. Got a huge fan right here for the BWHL. Check them out. Help them grow that game so we can have great hockey all over North America for the women's side of things. And also, the Leafs Weekender, we're back. Every Sunday night, going to try to go between 9 Atlantic, 8 p.m. Eastern, or 10, depending. But it'll be live. I'll be here in your ear. And then, of course, we will be up on YouTube trying to get some things resolved with the show from our previous hosts. But right now, we're rocking with the Hockey Hot Stove. So go check out the Hockey Hot Stove over on Twitter. Make sure you follow them. Also, make sure you make them your number one stop for all your news and needs for NHL and hockey news. Get to the Hockey Hot Stove. We appreciate them for having us. Looking forward to working with them going forward. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Offside Hockey Talk, where the Maple Leafs and hockey come to talk.